After 12 years, nearly 2 million followers, and over 70,000 nautical miles, the world's most famous sailing family opened their latest video with 5 words, and those 5 words ended an era. That family is Sailing La Vagabonde, Whitelum and Elayna Carausu, the Australian couple who turned a second-hand boat and zero sailing experience into the most watched sailing channel in YouTube history. By the end of this video, you'll understand why those 5 words were coming long before they said them out loud, and why the events of the last 14 months made this outcome almost inevitable. We're selling our boat, guys. That is how Elayna opened the video. No preamble, no softening. Just that, in the quiet voice of someone who has already made peace with a decision that would take everyone else by surprise. The boat is La Vagabonde 3, a Rapido 60 trimaran, carbon fiber, capable of 25 knots in the right conditions. 3 years in the design and build. Total cost, €2 million. Riley wrote the sale listing himself and said directly, "Their only reason for selling is the decision to spend more time on land after more than a decade at sea." What comes next is specific. Not retirement, not disappearing. They want to build a self-sufficient off-grid farm, a permanent home where their 2 sons, Lenny and Darwin, can attend school. Roots, soil, one place, long enough to feel like it belongs to them. There may be a smaller, simpler boat nearby someday. Maybe an old wooden monohull, maybe a trawler, but the Rapido is going. The performance chapter is done. And to understand how a couple who built their entire identity around being at sea arrived here, you need to know who they were before any of this started. Riley grew up in Kimba, a small country town in South Australia. Not a sailing family, not a coastal upbringing. He learned to sail alone. Just him, a friend, and an unfurled headsail neither of them knew how to roll back in. He spent 4 years on offshore mining rigs, saving $100,000, bought a second-hand Beneteau Cyclades 43 monohull, and pointed it toward the Mediterranean. Elayna was born in Perth. She had enrolled in a journalism degree and walked away from it. She was working in Greece when she crossed paths with Riley in 2014. He was passing through on the boat. He asked if she wanted to sail to the next island. She did. The channel started by accident. Elayna found a camera on the boat and started filming. Not for an audience, not with a strategy, just because the life looked worth recording. Those first videos were unpolished and unplanned. They attracted viewers who had never thought sailing was within reach. Within a few years, hundreds of thousands were watching. Then came the moment that changed the scale of everything. And that's when the decision was made. The one nobody around them saw coming. In November 2019, Greta Thunberg needed a boat. The UN climate conference had moved from Chile to Madrid at the last minute, and she was stranded on the wrong side of the ocean. She put a call out on social media. Riley and Elayna dropped their winter plans overnight, reached out, and within days were crossing the North Atlantic in late autumn, carrying the world's most prominent climate activist, her father, and their own 1-year-old son Lenny. The story ran globally. The channel grew past 1 million subscribers, then past 1.5 million, eventually approaching 2 million, a number no sailing channel had reached before them. But everything that followed the Greta crossing was building toward a single night in Japan that changed the trajectory of this family for good. At 2:40 in the morning on November 4th, 2024, La Vagabonde 3 was at anchor near Okinoshima in Japan's Kagawa Prefecture. The family was asleep, the anchor light was on, every regulation followed. A fishing boat, piloted by a 70-year-old captain, struck them. The impact woke everyone aboard. Riley described it publicly as the most harrowing ordeal of their lives. The children were shaken so badly they refused to go back to sleep. The forward beam of the trimaran showed a significant structural crack, confirmed by the original naval architect who reviewed the Coast Guard photographs. The damage was extensive. Sailing was halted indefinitely. The family posted a brief statement confirming everyone was physically safe. Then the communication largely stopped. For weeks, Patreon supporters logged on to scheduled live calls and found no one there. Multiple sessions missed. Rescheduled dates that came and went. The community began speculating about legal complications in Japan, about the financial exposure, about whether the channel could survive a prolonged stoppage. Frustration grew within the inner circle of people providing monthly income to fund the journey. Most people who know this story stop here, but the real story starts right now. Long before the boat sale announcement, the question being asked quietly across sailing forums and in comment sections was not about the collision at all. It was, are they going to keep doing this? The trimaran had brought a different kind of life, more technical, More demanding, higher production values, higher maintenance costs, higher everything. Meanwhile, the boys were getting older. Lenny was approaching school age. The couple had been talking more openly about land, about what it would mean to stay somewhere long enough to actually know it. People who had watched every episode for years noticed the shift. The Sea People app, a sailing community platform Riley and Elayna co-founded with the former CTO of Shopify, launched in October 2024, pointed toward a business identity that didn't require constant motion. The channel had become a brand. The brand could survive a boat sail. And then came January 2026, and the 5 words. Here's what the comments kept asking, and here's the answer they never got until now. The Japan collision didn't just damage a beam. It appears to have been the final weight on a scale that had been tipping for a long time. Riley and Elayna have described their boys being deeply unsettled after the impact. 2 children who had never known anything but the water, shaken awake in the dark in a foreign country while their home took structural damage around them. Whatever the couple had been weighing privately about school, about land, about roots, that night in Japan made the answer clear. The ocean gave Riley and Elayna everything they have. The channel, the community, the life that nearly 2 million people watched and, in many cases, were genuinely changed by. What it couldn't give them were roots. And after 12 years of continuous motion, 2 sons old enough to need stability, and one night in Japan that shook the whole family to its core, the time for roots has arrived. The next chapter is still forming. A farm, a country not yet chosen, and a brand that will evolve rather than end. Whatever they build on land will carry the same honesty as everything they build on the water. That has never been in doubt. Here's the question the whole community is still debating. Do you think the Japan collision was the thing that finally pushed them off the water? Or had they already made this decision before the boat was ever hit?